If you think you're having a bad day at work, then this story may make you feel a lot better about your boss. Guinevere just had a newborn baby. She came back to work after maternity leave, only for her boss to cut her salary by $15,000. That's not what a new mom wants to hear. This was when Guinevere realized that she wasn't the one in charge of her life and something had to change.
My boss called me and he had decided that he didn't want to pay me what I was making before I left on maternity leave. So he reduced my salary by about $15,000. And I basically had no option but to show back up to work in a week. Kind of like save face. I went in the office and I begged for my salary back because I was in a spot where our lifestyle had depended on it. And I had just had a baby. We were putting her in daycare. And what was taken away from me in salary was basically what I was going to be spending on daycare.
Fast track to today, Guinevere is a successful business owner providing for her family with affiliate marketing. Her latest business venture gained 250,000 Instagram followers in just 11 months. So how did she go from underpaid office worker to entrepreneur? Let's find out. Welcome to The Creator's Adventure, where we interview creators from around the world hearing their stories about growing a business. Hey everyone, I'm Brian McAnulty, the founder of Heights Platform. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, we're here today with Guinevere Stasio. She is a mom on a mission to empower women to reclaim their time and financial independence. After experiencing a significant pay cut upon returning from maternity leave, Guinevere realized she needed to take control of her future and quit her day job. Over the past 8 years, she navigated the challenging world of digital entrepreneurship until discovering affiliate marketing. Today, she grew a successful affiliate business and gained a social media following of over 250,000 in just 11 months. Guinevere, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So my first question is, what would you say is the biggest thing that you did or you are doing that has helped you to achieve the freedom to do what you enjoy? And I ask this to everyone. I think by the bio I just read about you, it might be related to affiliate marketing, but I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was actually the platform of growing a business. I think it was truly investing in learning how to trust the process, which is such a horribly vague answer, because for years I had coaches that told me to trust the process and I hated that answer. But truly, I think in the process of learning to trust myself was also the process of learning who I was and what my values were and what I wanted to be known for, how I wanted to help people. And so while learning the marketing of affiliate marketing for sure has helped me grow, it's also that back stuff too that led me up to this space today.
Got it. Yeah. I can relate to that idea of like trust the process. And I think I know what you're talking about. But for those who maybe haven't found that yet for themselves or haven't gotten to that point, what would you suggest to them of how they can stop worrying about maybe if they're not exactly where they want to be right now?
One of the biggest things that I did was stop setting goals that had timelines and stop setting goals that were outside of my control. So we all want, or I think what we all want is that following, right? Like that those followers on social media and the engagement. It's the reason why we show up, so that we can engage with other people. And so often the goal in the beginning of my journey would be like, I want to get to 1,000 followers. And in reality, that goal is outside of my control. I could do lots of work and lots of things to try to get to that goal, but I'm really not in control of that goal. So I kind of had to pivot my goals and work them more towards personal goals and feelings of fulfillment goals. And just in general growing a business, but taking off the plate the things that were not in my control. Does that make sense?
Yeah. For myself, I've realized over the last few years, whenever there's a time that I'm not satisfied with exactly where I'm at or what's going on at that point in my business, I step back and think to myself, well, would I be doing anything else? Like, with what I'm doing day to day, like, am I enjoying it? Is it what I want to do? And if it's the thing I wanted to do, then the rest doesn't really matter because I wouldn't trade it for something else anyway.
But that's hard though, right?
Yeah, yeah, it definitely is hard.
That's hard.
Can you take us back to a moment when you decided to transition from the doctor of audiology to becoming a digital entrepreneur? What
Yeah,
was like the tipping point that made you take the leap?
the tipping point was that, and you mentioned it in my intro. I was a week from returning back to my job after maternity leave. My boss called me, and he had decided that he didn't want to pay me what I was making before I left on maternity leave. So he reduced my salary by about $15,000. And I basically had no option but to show back up to work in a week. Kind of like save face. I went in the office and I begged for my salary back because I was in a spot where our lifestyle had depended on it. And I had just had a baby. We were putting her in daycare. And what was taken away from me in salary was basically what I was going to be spending on daycare.
Yeah.
So, that was kind of like someone ripped my heart. I never expected that phone call. And I think that's how most things go for us, is like the things that happen, we don't ever expect them to happen, and they feel so jarring and so difficult to navigate. And it was. But on the other side of that, now I can see why that was presented to me, so that I could go out and see what was available in the world. Like, I didn't know people were running businesses online. I had no idea what this digital world held for opportunity. And so it was a blessing in disguise, but also a very difficult time in my life.
Yeah, yeah, I can only imagine. So you mentioned that, or I mentioned, I guess, that over the past 8 years in your bio, you've been learning and trial and error before you got to the point of where you're at today. I'm curious, beyond what you just said about like trusting the process, anything else to keep yourself motivated in the times when you weren't always seeing results?
Yeah, well, there were 8 years of not seeing results. So there was a long time period of like, just keep going, just keep your eye on the prize. But I think, probably just like anyone else, it's learning, it's reading the books, it's listening to the podcasts, it's trying things. I guess most people don't try things. I think a lot of people are afraid to try things, but I have tried and failed at so many things that I think that is what kept me going. Like, okay, I tried this thing. It didn't work out how I expected it to. There's got to be something else to this, because I know that there are people doing it. So what's the next thing? And what's the next thing? And kind of like a ladder, I guess, and stepping stones of learning is what kept me going, because I knew I could keep learning, and I knew people were doing it. So I knew it was possible. I just had to figure out what that thing was.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I think it's helpful to look at it in that way. And for myself, even, like, I know I've thought about things in the past of, well, okay, I'm not at this point for whatever, but did I do like X? Did I try X? And did I did I do it this way? Did I, like, until I could get to the point that I said, yes, I produced that much content, or yes, I tried this kind of marketing strategy. You couldn't really say for sure, like, that that wasn't the thing that was going to help get you to the next level.
Yeah, until you tried it for a long period of time.
Yeah,
like
that
enough
too.
time.
And also not stopping at it. Yeah. So like when I launched this thing, okay, like I launched this podcast. When I first launched it, it wasn't there wasn't suddenly people watching it. It took like a year before we really started getting attention with it. And so yeah, saying, have I actually given this the time for it be reasonable to me to have a result from it?
I think as you say that too, one of the hardest things to navigate is knowing, like, how much time. How do you know when you've given something enough time that it was a worthy effort? Like, okay, I've tried this and now I can move on to the next thing.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah, I think for myself, I kind of, if it's a more general, like, marketing kind of content creation, I plan to do something that that in general I want to stick with for a long time. So like this podcast, like I figured I would definitely at least give it a year before I would make any decisions about if I would keep going with it or not. And I think that's a good way to go. You can't say I'm going to start TikTok or Instagram tomorrow and say I'll give it a month and then
Yeah.
give up if it doesn't work.
Yeah. But I think so many
So
people do.
yeah, I think so many people do. I've said it a number of times that the surprising kind of fact for me as the owner of this software platform where I get this like inside look at what creators are doing, the biggest reason that creators fail is because they don't actually launch their product. They don't actually put it out there. Maybe they hit publish in our software, but then they don't really go and tell everybody. And I feel bad because they've created something really good, but they're not really giving it the chance to succeed because they give up on the marketing too fast for whatever reason, that they didn't get a win quick enough, that they felt unsure of what to do, that they felt insecure about it or embarrassed or something like this.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that more and more as I continue in business, I realize there is no secrets. It's just like you keep doing it. You keep trying
Yeah.
things, you keep doing
Yeah.
it. And those who do keep doing it, they're on average, they're pretty successful.
That's true. I like that.
Yeah. So you started as an affiliate marketer. Now you've expanded to teach others who want to do the same. What were some of the initial steps that you took when you were like learning about affiliate marketing? And I'm also curious, like what were like the first affiliate programs, like how you got into this in the beginning?
Well, I mean, technically I started in the digital world in network marketing 8 years ago, and learned and navigated that space, and ultimately decided after 8 years that it wasn't what filled my soul, but I also knew I liked the helping aspect of it. And in between the time of stopping that and looking for what I wanted to do next, I tried a coaching program. I tried to launch my own coaching program, and I hired coaches, and I did everything they said to do, and I followed the steps, and I watched them and I copied them. And to what you just said, I think I probably didn't give myself enough time to actually, like, I created it, but I didn't give myself enough time to launch it, to like let it be put out there into the world and talk about it and market it. And I think that part is the hardest part for me, at least, figuring out how to market your own stuff. So on this journey of like, I know there's a missing piece, and here's what I haven't learned yet. I figured out that I haven't learned how to effectively market. So when I was looking for that, I found an affiliate marketing course that taught me what it said was step by step how to market in the digital space. So I'm like, okay, well, there it is. That's what I need. This is the missing piece. And what I found in that process of learning those things is that not only did I understand the process better and was able to actually take like from learning to implementing right away, but there's a whole world of people who were looking for that same information. So then I was able to turn around and say, okay, I found it. Like, here you go. This is what I've been looking for, and it's what you've been looking for too. And so that's what started my whole affiliate marketing journey.
Cool. So yeah, but was there like early on, like what kind of things was that promoting? Was it like, because I guess what I'm getting at is some people who have just heard a little bit about affiliate marketing, or once you start to get into it, I feel like there's certain stereotypes about it and like how it is and what the business actually is. And I know like there's all these sites where it's like the affiliate marketer just creates this like junk directory site of tons and tons of links, and like there's those fake coupon sites where it's like you search for a deal on something and you get all the coupons, and it's like none of these actually work, and turns out they're all just affiliate links. And so like some people have a bad taste of it because of that. And on the other side, there's like more like the influencer style affiliate marketing where it's like, hey, I use this product, here's a link to it, and you get a commission. Like, I guess what were the things that attracted you early on in it, and what was like how did you start promoting affiliate offers?
So I love that because that was my introduction to affiliate marketing, was seeing what we'll call, I guess, an influencer on Instagram, show up in her outfit today and say, hey, I got this, on Amazon, head to my link in my bio and here's my outfit. You could go buy it. And she would get a commission. And then tomorrow she'd show up and say, hey, like, this is my water pitcher. I got it here on Amazon. You can go. And so what I thought affiliate marketing was just that, like someone just sharing every day the things in their life that they used. But what I truly realized it was almost like a toe dip in the water for entrepreneurs. Because I think a lot of times when we go into the digital space and we want to build a business, we think we have to create something. And that sometimes can feel overwhelming. So you find yourself on either side. It's either like, I'm really good at creating something, but I'm not good at marketing it. Or I'm really good at marketing, but I'm not good at creating. And so affiliate marketing for me allowed me to see that what you're really doing is you're finding an audience that has a very specific problem, and then you're providing the solution, which can be an affiliate link to anything, but really you stay in this one niche. So instead of it being like, here's my water and here's my outfit and here's all these lifestyle things, it's very pinpointed. And so you're always focused on solving this one problem for people. And you might have different affiliate links in there, but they're all focused on the same niche. Does that make sense?
Yeah, got it. Yeah, I think it is an interesting path if you're listening or watching this right now and you don't even know if you're like the more on the marketing side or more on the product side, just because you haven't started anything. It is an interesting way to think about, well, what if you just promote some other people's offers, start to get some kind of revenue from that. It doesn't have to be like making a living from it yet, but then you kind of see like what's involved. And then if you want to make your own product after that, I think you'll be in a better starting position as opposed to like you start on the product and have no clue about the marketing and then you get discouraged about it for whatever
Exactly.
reason.
And that's exactly where I had been for the past, couple of years trying to figure out my own thing. I could go create the course, I could go create the program, but when it came to launching it and marketing it, it was just a nosedive down, and you get super discouraged when it's your own thing and you feel so passionate about it, but nobody wants it. It's very hard to keep going versus, you're promoting somebody else's already successful thing. People already are wanting it. They're already buying it. It's so much easier to learn those steps there. And then you can work your way, if you want to, creating your own thing. And I do think that is the next step. I'm actually in that process now of figuring out what it is that I want to create and what that's going to look like. Now that I have that experience, I know what it takes to market it. And I feel so much more ready to do that for my own thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And the beauty of having your own product is like you get to keep all the money.
Right.
Maybe you have your own affiliates, but otherwise like you get to keep all of it as opposed to being an affiliate, you get a percentage.
Yeah. And then you're in charge, right? You don't have to rely on someone else's, and maybe they decide to make a change and you don't like the change. Now you're like left in the dark. When it's your own product, you get to be the one behind it.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. So you launched your latest business only last year, and you grew your Instagram account from 0 to 250,000 followers in just 11 months. What was the strategy you believe to be the key to that growth?
I know everyone says this, but it is truly an authentic connection with people. And I think it's twofold. I think it's really understanding who you are and what your values are, and also understanding who your ideal audience is. And what helped me is that my ideal audience was just a prior version of me. And so, I'm only a couple of steps ahead of this person who really wants to figure out how to grow. And so I can turn around and kind of give the little tidbits that I have and point them in a direction of where to learn them because I've been there. And anyone that I come in contact with, anyone that replies to my emails, anyone that talks to me is like, I just relate so much to your story. So I feel like really sharing the vulnerable parts of my story and showing up, in all forms, like as a mom with my kids running around the house, still in my sweatpants at 2:00 p.m. Like people just relate to that relatable stuff. So it really is just showing up, I think, vulnerably online.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, that's great. I was thinking like a few days ago about like if you look back to something you're nostalgic about, like whether it's like a show, a movie, uh, fashion, or something like I don't know, things from like the '90s and everything. Like you think of like wow, this thing had a very specific style to it that like it's definitely like this way, and that's part of what made it special. And it's really the same thing I think when you're a creator. You don't want to try to be everything. Just embrace whatever it is that you are, and don't try to be the things that you're not, because that's what people are going to relate to and connect to. And like if it
Mm-hmm.
was something so like generic and trying to appeal to everyone without any style, like I can't think of what that thing is and be nostalgic about it because there was no
Because
like interest in it anyway.
exactly, exactly. I just talked about recently something very similar to that. I don't know what year you were born in, but when I was a teenager, we would go to the mall and get like Auntie Anne's pretzels and Orange
Mm.
Julius, and we'd go to Abercrombie and Fitch, and like those three things were a very nostalgic part of my time. And all those things are linked to like certain memories, and they're very memorable to me. Even like walking by Abercrombie and Fitch now, it's that same smell, and like Auntie Anne's pretzels is the same smell. So there's like these memory triggers and these relatability triggers, I think, for people. So that really helps make the connection, and for people to be like, oh, she's just like me. I'm just
Yeah,
like her,
exactly. Yeah.
you know? Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Um, so let's see. You talked a little bit about like the affiliate offers should be like within your specific like kind of niche, like serving that same person. Um, I guess how do you gain the trust of your audience if you have to convince them to be purchasing these things? I guess from the perspective of like someone who's maybe more of like a product or course creator now, and they're saying, okay, well, this affiliate marketing like kind of sounds cool, but I could see how from the outside it seems like, well, I have to like be pitching things all the time, or like is everything I'm telling somebody about actually some product I have to offer or recommend to them? What would you say about that as far as like gaining the trust of your audience and how you can feel comfortable with promoting things?
Yeah. Again, I think that it has a lot to do with your story in gaining trust with people. So part of affiliate marketing for me anyway is showing up on social media and also having my emails. And both of those places are ways for me to connect with people. And I truly do want people to reply back to me. Like I want people to engage. I want people to let me know what they got out of my emails. And so when I'm crafting both my content for social media and also my emails, I'm very careful to always make sure I'm providing value. So not every email has an affiliate link, right? But the reason why someone raises their hand and gets on my email list is because they want to learn how to make money online. And that's something that I teach them both through my affiliates and also through the other products that I've created. So I know the purpose of someone joining my email list is to learn those things. I go back in my head and I go, okay, what lessons did I learn? And I share them in my email and I share them on my social media. And they have no affiliate link attachments, right? They're not attached to me making money in any way. They are simply ways to help people through the process, just like I needed before I got there. So I think that helps create trust in people. You know, I get people who respond to my emails and say, like, I just feel like I can talk to you. And that's exactly what I want people to feel like. I'm not some like guru or expert on the other side of the computer. I'm just another mom who wants best for their family. And now I can turn around and help other people. So that was a very long answer to your question. But I think the short of it is like just connecting with people and showing them that you're a human. And it's very obvious when someone's just trying to make a sale. Like I'm on other affiliate marketers' email lists for the sole purpose of what not to do. Like it's a daily reminder for me of like, okay, don't write emails like this. And I'm sure that you've all been on the other side of these emails. It's like, hey, don't miss this sale. It's ending today. Tomorrow you get an email. It's like, hey, the sale's extended. Don't miss this sale. This is the lowest it's ever going to be. And then in a week you get like, this is my best sale I've ever had, you know? And it's just like this continual push to buy things instead of a continual show up in value.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great point. Now, I'm curious about going back to the social media though. I think I'm thinking from the perspective of our audience here, and thinking of like the person who's saying, "Okay, I get it. Yeah, be myself. I'm doing that. I'm not getting views." So
Yeah.
I'm curious. Is there like a formula to any of your posts? Would you say like, I don't know, if not, is there like, what does a specific post look like? Can you share anything else about that?
Yeah, sure. This has been a learning process for me. And, you know, when I first started, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I had been on social media before. I had made social media posts, but obviously in past businesses was not very successful doing that. And what I learned as a whole in general is it helps when you talk about someone's desires. So I just started showing up and talking about, I basically shared my story in a hero format. And sometimes that looked like speaking to the camera. And sometimes that looked like just a video with text over it. But it really was me saying like, here's where I've been. Here's what I didn't like about it. Here's what I did. Here's where I'm going and why I'm excited about it. And those four things, those four parts of a story really help someone to kind of see themselves in my shoes. And so not all my posts on social media are my story, but I would aim to have at least tell my story once a week. And the other thing that I learned how to do is just have a consistent strategy. So I decided from the beginning, I'm going to show up 3 times a day. Now that seems like a lot for someone, but I was very determined to make this work. And I figured the more I can get myself out there, the more I can get in front of people, the more I can help the person I'm trying to help. So sharing tips and tricks, which were just things that I had learned, you know, weeks ago. So just being 10% of that person who's trying to get there, sharing those little tips, sharing why I'm excited about this, and then sharing my story. So it was kind of those 3 parts that every day, showing up with those same posts, those same types of posts every single day.
Yeah, I'm curious also, like, I think what you described is great. I think that as you have to get something out there in order to even like get the feedback of, okay, how can I improve it and things like that.
Yeah.
I think it's better to have that mindset rather than think, okay, we're talking about here, we just have to post more. I'll just post more. But if you just
Yeah.
make a bunch of like junk, like doing more is not helpful.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's doing more so you can get some kind of information to improve it faster. But I'm curious, like with that, once you started like having some posts that were taking off, were you like looking at those and like trying to double down on that format or like recreating them? Like today, do you create the same amount or do you create it less? How has it evolved once you started gaining traction?
Yeah, I think you're right in the beginning. It's like, okay, yeah, you could say I'm going to post 3 times a day and you could put out 3 posts that are just meaningless, and over a 4-week period, that's not going to give you any helpful information. So I think definitely having a strategy so that in 30 days, you can go back and go, oh, okay, these types of posts did really well. These ones didn't do really well. I'm going to make less of the ones that didn't do really well and make more of the ones that did well. And in the beginning, that's like a couple of views, right? Like it's not monumental because you're just trying to gain people's trust and show up as someone who has the solution to your ideal audience's problem. I didn't have a lot of strategy when I first started. And so I was kind of just like flying by the seat of my pants and looking and seeing what everyone else was doing. But I started to, I guess, learn my voice and at the same time learn what people were really resonating with. And so for me, I do really well with speaking videos, but that doesn't mean that, you necessarily will do well with speaking videos. So that's why I do think you have this period of time where you're kind of just trying things. How do I feel making that? How do other people feel making that? And now the way that I approach it is a consistent strategy every day. I still show up 2 to 3 times a day. Because I love my audience. Like, I love what I'm doing. I love talking to people. I love making connections. And so I enjoy that part. And I also do go back in 90-day increments and go, okay, in the past 90 days, what were my best posts? I could take those and I can remake them now. And typically those posts do tend to do well time and time again.
Got it. And your like formula for that creation now, is it like sit down and draft and write a bunch of ideas and scripts? Or is it more like off the cuff? Okay, I'm just going to record this. I know this is the kind of post that I didn't make this week yet. I want to do it now. Like, do you edit the videos later, or is it like direct to your phone and you upload it?
All of those things.
Okay.
And that's what works best for me. I think I go through periods of time where I don't feel creative. And then I go through periods of time where I do feel like I have a lot to say. And so when I go through those periods of time where I feel like I have a lot to say, I get out my phone, I record it, and I save it in my drafts. And then I write the caption later, like when I'm ready to post it, or if I have a few minutes, I'm going to write the caption. I also take my notes section in my phone, and I have captions that I repeat all the time. Sometimes they'll change because of time, like maybe one day I was writing, it's a Tuesday, and I'm making the post now on a Thursday, but I've got a whole set of captions that I can just copy and paste. Because I think the thing that scares most people from showing up on social media and being consistent is like, I have to have a new idea every time I show up. But I don't know what the statistic is now, but it's like 7% of the person watching your video has never seen any of your other videos. So if you use the same audio 2 days in a row, no one's going to notice. If you use the same caption as you did last week, no one's going to notice. And if they do, so what? They're like, hey, that's a good caption. So I think hopefully I answered your question on that. I don't have a sit down and bash my post on Monday kind of thing. It's more because I've been doing it now consistently for a year. I feel like I know what works. I know what I like to say, and I know who I'm talking to. So that message is pretty consistent.
Yeah, that helps. I think that's a really good point you made, because over like the last few years, it is a big change if you haven't been involved in social media. It used to be like, okay, I'm making this thing for my followers, and you generally would be more afraid of posting the same kind of thing because it's like they're all going to see it again. And now like followers almost doesn't mean anything because there's all the algorithms that's determining like who's seeing what. But even still, like a lot of what you create, you're finding this space for yourself, and if it's in the same like style and the vibe that you're creating, like you're supposed to reuse that stuff. And like if it's your good content, like reframing it or recreating it in a different way, instead of like leaving that great thing that you created and then it's like, oh well, a lot of people saw that before. This year I'm just not going to make good stuff. I'm just going to let that one go. So it's okay to redo those kind of things.
I also take them and I use them in my emails too. So like my captions for my social media become my emails, and the wording might change a little bit because it's a different platform. But for the most part, I don't want to do double the work. So I focus on how can I make my workload less, but still, I don't know, like big enough to hit all the spaces, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And like the repurposing is so powerful there too, because the same thing applies. Like, why would you have this really piece of like this really popular piece of content you've created, but then your email audience never gets to see it because you only share it on social media?
Yeah, you think like, oh, well, my email followers are probably already following me on social media, so they probably already saw this post. No. It's different.
Yeah, no, it's definitely was an eye-opening thing for me in business when I realized that like we would do these email sequences and things, and we'd have some kind of big promotion where we've got all this long sequence of a bunch of emails, and we're talking about a new feature or something else, and then to find out that like some of my like most engaged customers didn't even know what we were talking about.
Mm.
It's like we
Yeah.
were talking about. I thought we talked about that everywhere. Like what? And
Yeah.
then you find out like, oh well, they actually only pay attention to us like in this spot, and so they didn't know anything about that.
Mm-hmm.
So in your own business and your own creation, there's probably things that like you maybe almost feel sick of that you're like, this is always like my thing, but the truth is
Yes.
your audience probably maybe has not even ever heard that from you before.
Yeah. I mean, I have a freebie that I give away, and from that freebie, these people join my email list and get put on an email campaign, like a sequence of emails that are automated. I wrote and they get automatically sent out. And in these emails is tons of times I talk about how to start. Here's your first step when you get started. Here's the next step when you get started. And I will get emails from people who would be like, I just don't know how to start. Replying to an email that even has in it, like, here's how to start. So it's like people aren't reading at length, I think. Like, we're such a microwave world. Everyone wants these little bite-size pieces of information. And I think in social media right now and email, any content creation, if I had one tip, it would be like, people don't want five ways to grow your business. They want one way. Like, give me one thing I can do right now. It's an automatic win. I can complete that. Check. Like, it just seems like the information load is people are desiring a smaller piece of information to help them.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
So if there was one piece of advice you could give your younger self now, compared to like your younger self when you first started this journey, what would that be and why?
My younger self now. Oh, it's hard not to say keep going. I was a competitive gymnast for 14 years, and my coach used to have us sit down and watch Rocky. We watched a specific scene from Rocky before every meet, and we had to sit there and visualize our routine in our head without falling, without any mistakes. You had to keep visualizing until you had a perfect routine. And then, being 10, 11, 12, you don't understand what that does. But I've since implemented that into my business of like actually visualizing what it looks like when I hit this goal, what my life looks like, how I feel when I get there. And I think that that's such an overlooked area of business because it's not a quote unquote business skill. But truthfully, I think it's one of the more important business skills. Like, you have to know what it's going to feel like when you get there before you get there. You have to become the person that you want to become before you become the person.
Yeah. Becoming it is it's really important because like how can you ever be at that point if you're not doing the things that you would be doing later or that would reflect getting to that spot in the first place?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool, I like that. All right, well, I've got one more question for you, and that is on the show, I like to have every guest ask a question to the audience. So if you could ask our audience anything, whether something you're curious about, something you kind of want to get everybody thinking about, what would that be?
I would ask what is the thing that holds you back the most? Like, what's the biggest challenge that you have in creating the content or the business that you desire to have?
All right, I like it. All right, and before we get going, where else can people find you online?
I am on Instagram under She Lived a Good Life. Yeah, that's my biggest platform. That's where I love hanging out, and I love talking to people. So definitely send me a message and just say hello.
Guinevere, thanks so much.
Thank you so much.